Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie?
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, welcome to the program on your Thursday afternoon. Hope it is a good one for you. Lots of talk right now. Lots of talk right now about a deal. Oh, there's a deal. There's a deal with Trump and Iran. There is no deal. Let me just reiterate this. At this point in time, there is no deal between Trump and Iran. The folks over here at Fox News, listen to what they were saying.
U.S. officials confirming to Fox News that American and Iranian negotiators have reached a 60-day ceasefire extension, a memorandum of understanding. The question now is whether or not President Trump and Iran's supreme leader, Mustafa Khamenei, will sign off to move this deal forward. As part of the current framework, we are told this would extend the ceasefire and open the Strait of Hormuz. The issue of Iran's nuclear program would be pushed down the road. And already we're starting to see a splinter in the positions, at least announced by Iranian state media and announced by President Trump. You'll remember yesterday during that cabinet meeting, the president said he would not be comfortable with Iran exporting their highly enriched uranium to a third-party country like China or Russia. We do know a top Pakistani diplomat is expected in Washington tomorrow. Some of these finer details will likely be worked out in the days.
All right, but here's the deal. I mean, everybody's freaking out. We saw Lindsey Graham freaking out about this, how it was a bad deal, and Donald Trump is basically giving Iran a win. Listen to what Scott Bessent said just a few minutes ago.
He has several red lines, and Iran has to turn over their highly enriched uranium. They cannot pursue a nuclear weapon, and the Strait of Hormuz, back to your question on energy, has to free transit. Navigation of the seas has to be free and open as it was before. So he's not going to take a bad deal. He's going to make a great deal for the American people.
All right, he's not going to make a bad deal. He said it's either a great deal or no deal. I don't know why people are always, they're just looking for a reason, something to hang around the neck of Donald Trump. But that's just the way they do. Well, early voting has started here in South Carolina, and I admit, folks, some of these numbers, to me, are a little disturbing with a bit of a caveat here. Statewide total for day one, 56,407 votes were cast. Democrats, 45,966. Republicans, 10,340. And we'll break that down a little bit. I'll explain a little bit of that coming up. Greenville County, there were 3,713 early votes cast. Democrats, 2,871. Republicans, 842. Spartanburg County, 2,083 votes. Democrats, 1,321. Republicans, 762. Anderson County, 1,226 vote cast, Democrats 713, Republicans 513. So, but here's the thing: a lot of these folks, a lot of Republicans, we like to vote on Election Day. We think it's called Election Day for a reason. So that's when we like to vote. That's when we like to get out there and vote. I mean, my wife and I are actually thinking about doing some early voting this year, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We're usually day of. I mean, I like to get that experience, right? You go to the polling place, you're there, everybody else is there, all these people are in line, hopefully, and then you go in and you vote and you do your civic duty and you leave and you got your little sticker and everything is happy and everything is glorious. So when you hear some of these numbers, please don't worry about that too much. I did have somebody ask me a question about a spreadsheet that I was working on, and I've still got it. It's a spreadsheet about some of the local elections that we've got, and I was going to put it on Substack. But when I started seeing folks like the Freedom Index, and there's a new voter guide out there that I'll be honest with you, it's pretty darn good. It's called iVoterGuide.com. That is iVoterGuide.com. I'll be honest with you, I don't think I can add a whole lot more to those things. But if you guys want me to, I'll go ahead and put up my my spreadsheet on Substack later on tonight, and I'll tell you how to get access to all of that stuff. So be aware of that. So we've got a bunch to talk about today. Coming up at 4:35, we're going to be talking with Representative Nancy Mace, who is running for governor of South Carolina. We've got a lot of questions for her about the race and about what is going on here in South Carolina, because I got into a little bit, and this is something I try to never do. Ever, ever, ever. I try never to get into a Facebook squabble. I avoid it like the plague. I avoid it like the plague. Last night, I did, all right? And I'll tell you what was said. I'll give you all of the information about that. But it's just one of those, I just don't get into squabbles on social media. I just don't do it. I leave it alone. You know, you read something, you go, all right, fine, whatever. You're a big idiot, and just I go about my night. But last night, I had to type a little something because one of it came from somebody that I know extremely well. And some of the comments and the post that they made, I was like, well, why would you do that? And that just kind of set me the wrong way. So got into a little Facebook squabble last night. I'll tell you about that. And have you noticed this? That we've got I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but we've got a bunch of rhinos in South Carolina. I know, right? It's crazy. And these rhinos work against President Trump's agenda. They work against complying with the One Big Beautiful Bill. They work against redistricting. But then they want to claim that they're endorsed by Donald Trump. Isn't that amazing? They don't hold Donald Trump in high enough esteem to go along with his agenda, but they do hold him in high enough esteem to pretend they've got his endorsement. I'll give you a couple of examples when we get back, because that is pretty amazing. And Jill Biden has a brand new book out, and you won't believe what she was saying about her husband. Also, 4:06, we'll talk to Fred West, who is running for agricultural commissioner here in South Carolina. We'll be right back. This is the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
You're locked into the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas. Let your fingers do the talking.
Text the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line at 800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, welcome back to the program. So last night, got home, got something to eat, took the dogs for a walk, came back, and my wife pointed out something that was said over on Facebook. Okay. And again, usually I have to be able to compartmentalize my life. Have to be able to compartmentalize. I don't want politics to interfere with my relationship with my wife. I don't want my politics to interfere with how I treat the dogs. If I'm mad at the Democrats, I'm not going to go in and, I hate you dogs too. I just got to be able to compartmentalize and just leave everything else untouched. So then you get back and that's just the way it's had to be. Okay. So, because if I don't do that, I will drive me and everybody around me crazy. Now, that doesn't mean if you meet me out in public or you're a neighbor or a friend or on the golf course or whatever, I don't mind talking about politics. I just don't want to get so wrapped up in it that that's everything. Okay, so anyway, last night, got something to eat, played with the dogs a little bit, took them for a walk, came in, and there I saw this person that I knew very well put up a picture. It was a photograph. It said, Freedom Caucus. R.J. May was also, this is the only part they put up. It's the only part of the picture and the caption they put up. Freedom Caucus founder R.J. May was also there, as you can see from the caption. Pictured here are Freedom Caucus members, yada, yada, yada. And then they went on to actually call the Freedom Caucus members rhinos. And I said, wait a minute, hold on. What are you talking about? How are they rhinos? Oh, yes. When people talk about the Freedom Caucus, the only thing they have is R.J. May. And as soon as those allegations were verified, they dropped him like a hot potato, and rightfully so. And he's in jail now, and rightfully so. And I don't know a single member of the Freedom Caucus that wishes he wasn't. Okay? So then, they go on to say it. So anyway, they criticized the Freedom Caucus for not fighting against the Democrats. I was like, okay, well, here we go. It's on now. I gotta say something about this. So I said, this might be the only state where the Democrats are not the problem. Every problem in this state is caused by the people you support. Roads, bridges, infrastructure, taxes, earmarks, Scout Motors, all caused by the rhinos in Columbia. The Freedom Caucus fights against the rhinos every day. The reason they don't concentrate on the Democrats is because the Dems have no power in South Carolina. The only power the Dems have is the power that is given to them by rhino leadership, and they love giving Dems power. Who voted against complying with Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill? Rhinos. Who voted against Trump's request for redistricting? Rhinos. Who voted for to give away $1.4 billion to a woke corporation? Rhinos. Who refuses to close the primaries? Rhinos. So please, tell me what great strides your side has done to improve South Carolina. And I will tell you what they've done. Nothing. They have done nothing. Every single member of our House of Representatives needs to be replaced, and I'll go, except for the members of the Freedom Caucus. They need to be replaced. I'm going to play for you a clip here, and this sums up, this literally sums up what goes on in Columbia, South Carolina. And it's mind-boggling. You might remember Sarita Edgerton talking to Micah Caskey on the floor of the House in Columbia about how there was no time to read a bill. Listen to what Micah Caskey said.
You will find that there is no provision requiring you to actually read anything. And I think that after this short couple weeks you've been with us, you'll find that too often nobody reads anything.
Nobody reads anything. So let me ask you a question then. If nobody's reading anything, how do they know what to vote for? How do they know what to vote against? You don't get to know that. You just have to take the word of people like Merle Smith, Micah Caskey, Davey Hyatt, and others that this is a good bill. You got to take somebody else's word for it. Now, let me tell you something. If I send somebody to Columbia to be my representative, I want them to represent me. And therefore, I want them to be informed about every single thing that they vote on. I don't want them taking those clowns' advice because we've seen what they've done. These were the people that put radical Democrats in subcommittee chairmanships. Those were the people that do it. These are the people that give Democrats power when they should have absolutely none. No, we don't read the bills. No. Here's what you're here to do. You're here to sit down, shut up, and vote like we tell you to. Literally what they're saying. Sit down, shut up, vote like we tell you to. That's all they want. They don't want any pushback. They don't want any questions. They don't want to be questioned themselves. And they certainly do not want to explain themselves. Ooh, they hate that. So we're not being represented in South Carolina. And I've said this before. Everything. You listen to these people that are running for governor. Listen to these people that are running for governor. This is what kills me, man. Every problem that they're running on, every problem that they're claiming, if you elect me as governor, I'm going to fix this. All of those problems can be directly laid flat in the lap of the rhinos in Columbia. They caused this problem. They're the ones that have done it. Roads, bridges, infrastructure, I listed all of those before. All of those things could say, listen, you guys did that. Or you guys haven't done anything about that. You've done nothing about that. Well, the Freedom Caucus hasn't done anything. Freedom Caucus, guess what? They're in the minority. They're part of the group that's being told to sit down and shut up. And what was really disappointing in our governor series is I tried to ask every single candidate, what is the problem in Columbia and what do you plan on doing about it? Well, Pamela Ebbett said we got to all try to get along. Alan Wilson said, well, you got to be able to work together. We got to all get along. Ron Reddy said, well, you got to be able to work together and all get along. Ralph Norman said, we got to go in and fight these rhinos. We'll see what Nancy Mace has to say this afternoon. But that's the problem. The roads, everything, all of that, that's because we do not have a state legislature that really gives a damn. They don't care. And somebody, I forget who it was, talking about how they said, oh, I don't even remember what it was. But they were talking about the road. They were talking about the roads that were fixed, roads that were fixed. And how many roads were fixed in his district? And he put up a picture. He put up two pictures. And literally, the amount of one of the picture that he put up, the amount of road that was fixed was about, I'm going to say, 80 feet. 80 feet of road that he was taking. Oh, he was taking great. Oh, look, yeah, look how we fixed this road. It was literally 80 feet. And I was like, wait a minute. Okay, well, good for you. And that 80 feet of that T intersection there, you got fixed. So again, the problem is the problem. And until we do something about the problem's going to continue. As long as, and I don't understand why they've done so great. I don't understand why people, listen, I tell you, all these people that I was talking about, they're all down in the low country. They're low country folks. Understand that. I don't understand why they think everything in South Carolina is so great when we've got all these problems. Anyway, there you go. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
A native Georgia bulldog who bites back at big government. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
text, or call. One number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
So here we are deep in political season, election season going on right now, and there is something out there that everybody wishes they had. They could put out all the ads on television, all the ads on radio. They could buy all the yard signs. But there's one thing that they wish they could say they had. And that's something that John Cornyn wished he had in Texas. Listen to CNN talking about Cornyn's defeat.
Because just take a look here. Okay, the worst GOP senator primary lost by the margin, the worst ever for Republican senator. It now belongs to John Cornyn. His 28-point loss on Tuesday night was the worst since at least World War II for a Republican senator. We have seen this over and over and over again. When a Republican goes up against Donald Trump, or Donald Trump really goes up against them, it doesn't end too well for that Republican senator. We saw it just a few weeks ago with Bill Cassidy getting, just 25% of the vote, which was the lowest vote share total for any senator, incumbent senator. And now when looking at the margin, again, breaking history, the 28-point loss for John Cornyn, the worst for a Republican senator since at least World War II, Cape.
That's amazing. So congratulations, John Cornyn. You now hold a record. You might be in the Loser Hall of Fame. But Donald Trump's endorsement is literally worth its weight in gold. You could have, like I just said, you could have all TV ads, radio ads, flyers, banners, billboards, whatever. None of those compare to what a Trump endorsement will give you. And it's so valuable. What do people want to do with valuable things? What do people want to do with valuable things? They want to steal them. They want to steal. That's why you lock up your valuables, because people will try to steal them. And that's kind of figuratively what is happening in this election. Everybody is trying to claim that they're endorsed by Donald Trump. So who are the latest? Well, got to put this one on State Senator Matt Lieber. Matt Lieber posted this. He said, I support Senator Goldfinch in the South Carolina Attorney General race, and so does President Trump. There's only one thing wrong with that. President Trump hasn't endorsed anybody in that race, much less Stephen Goldfinch. So what do they call that? What do they call that when you say something that is not true? What do they Oh, it's a lie. That's a lie. What, isn't that one of the commandments? Yeah, that's right. It's a commandment. Thou shalt not lie. Don't lie. Don't bear false witness. And that's what you just did. So as Trump would say, fake news. That's all Matt Lieber is. Nothing but fake news. Fake news, Matt Lieber. I wouldn't trust this guy. I don't want to trust anything he said. I just lied about it. Absolutely lied about it. So then you go to the Greenville County Republican Party and their chairman, Jeff Davis. Jeff Davis put this out. I think it was on Facebook. Hashtag vote Pasco. Trump will be happy if you do. Well, not according to Trump. Donald Trump posted a tirade against David Pasco over on Truth Social. So I'm telling you, all these people are out there like, oh, we want to. So if they can't get a Trump endorsement, at least they're either going to lie about it or they're going to pretend that it would have happened if it could have. Oh, if Donald Trump could just sit down with David Pasco. And David Pasco said this, if Donald Trump would just sit down with me for 10 minutes, I could, yeah, okay. All right, let's go to Keith in Spartanburg. Keith, welcome.
Hey, Mr. Charlie, how you
Yes, sir.
doing?
I'm great, man. What's going on?
I got two questions for you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
The first one is, I've heard candidate for, I'm pretty sure for the Senate, and I know I have for the governor, saying that they put all these millions of dollars into their candidate. Why would you do that when you're not going to make that money back?
Which race are you talking about?
The governor race is one of them.
Yeah.
The one that I heard one of the gentlemen say he's put all his money. He's not taking no money. And the second one is the Senate race. I think I heard, I'm not for sure, but I thought I heard one of them say that they put a bunch of money in it.
The state Senate? Because we don't have
Yes,
state
sir.
we don't have state senates. Listen, well,
I mean, not state Senate,
the House.
the federal. Yes,
oh,
sir,
okay,
yes, sir.
okay. Oh, you're talking about Mark Lynch. Mark Lynch putting all of this
Yes,
money because they got it. I mean, it's not that they're trying to get into this to recoup that money.
Yes, sir.
But maybe they will. I mean, good gracious, we've seen that happen before. But if you're an honest politician and you're putting up your own money, you're not trying to get into this to try to recoup your money. But it might happen. We know that Ron Reddy was funding his campaign to the tune of some $10 million for governor of South Carolina, according to him on our series. And then you've got Mark Lynch. Those are the two that are really doing the biggest self-funding out there that I know of right now. But yeah, they don't.
I would vote for a crack kid before I would Lindsey Graham again.
Yeah, a lot of people feel the same way, Keith. Crackhead for Senate. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you very much. I'm gonna start doing. Oh, I got an idea. Oh, I'm about to be a billionaire. All I need is some funding. I need some backing, need some investors in my brand new business. I'm going to start an insurance company, okay? And what I'm going to sell is going to be political insurance. Okay, are you ready for this? All right. So you pay me a monthly premium, and unfortunately, it's going to be a hefty one. It's going to be a hefty monthly premium. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And if you put your own money, we're not talking about contributions, we're talking about your own money into your campaign, and you lose that campaign, my insurance firm will reimburse you. I'm going to go with 60% of what you put in. Does that sound good, John? That sounds like a pretty good plan. Now, there's going to be some caveats here. All right? You cannot be caught in any misdealings. You can't drop out because of, ethics or anything like that. So we're going to have some terms and conditions that could apply. But I'm going to start selling political insurance for candidates that are self-financing. So what do you think? I think that's a pretty darn good idea. All right, WRD Talk Line, 800-9050-989. That's also the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line. What do we got here? Oh, when we get back, I don't know if you've seen this interview with Jill Biden, but it's got a lot of people asking a lot of good questions. That's coming up next. This is the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Tough on issues, sharp with facts. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, welcome back to the program. Let's go to John in Bessemer City. How you doing, John?
Fine, Charlie. How are you, sir?
I'm great. What's up?
I was going to agree with you about a lot of things and a lot of things you do and about the redistricting.
Yeah.
In North Carolina, we fight the same. Now, I'm from North Carolina, so we fight the same thing. And they have special districts set up that are ridiculously amount of Democrats. I mean, they're still 50% Republican, but they cut them out so they can include an area outside where it ought to be so they can get the vote. And that's what y'all are trying to fight against in South Carolina, I know.
Yeah, right.
And, I mean, like you say up north, they got districts that no Republican can possibly win in.
Yep. Exactly.
And if we do the same thing, then we're doing something dishonest. If a Republican does the same thing, we're doing something dishonest.
How do you figure that? No.
Actually,
no. John, I let you have your say. Now you can listen to me. It's why these districts were drawn that way. The Supreme Court has said drawing districts for congressional lines, that's okay, but drawing them because of racial lines is unconstitutional.
All right.
So you can draw them for political lines, absolutely. Drawing them for racial lines, unconstitutional. That's what our 6th district is here in South Carolina. That is a racially gerrymandered district.
And that is incorrect.
That is
no. I'm not saying you're incorrect, Charlie. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying anytime you draw by racial lines, you're wrong.
Exactly.
It should be if I have 10 white neighbors and 6 black neighbors for the sake of argument, then we say, okay, if you draw them and you got to draw in 20 colored people, let's just say that.
Okay.
And to change the outcome of the election, it's not correct.
Not according to
not.
If you do it racially, you're right. If you do it for political reasons or to protect incumbents, that the Supreme Court said was okay.
Well, some of the incumbents we got aren't
no,
representing.
They're
not representing any of us.
That's a glowing tribute to incumbents. I appreciate it, John. Thank you. So Jill Biden's got a new book coming out that nobody's going to read. I want you to listen to what she said about that fateful night during the debate. Oh, this is good.
Did you ever see signs?
Wait a minute, hold on. First of all, this is asking about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. Here we go.
Did you ever see signs that he was falling into cognitive decline?
No.
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 Truly.
No.
I mean, people were saying he wasn't the same Joe Biden.
Well, I don't think that's true. He was the essence of the same Joe Biden, but...
The essence of the same Joe Biden? The essence of the same Joe Biden? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was slowing down. He was getting older. I mean, we all observed that. When it's a very intense job. I think it...
So then she goes on to say this, and this is probably the most interesting thing that she said. Here we go. Here's Jill Biden talking about the debate.
Were you horrified as you saw it unfold?
I wasn't horrified. I was frightened because I had never, ever seen Joe like that.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
Before or since? Never.
Or since?
Yes. Or
You've
since.
never seen him like
Never.
that?
No.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke.
Okay. So I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. So then we all remember. Now, if you thought, ladies, if you thought your husband was having a stroke, what would you do? Would you say, all right, honey, listen, something happened out there tonight. I think we need to get you checked. Let's go ahead. We're going to go to the hospital. We're going to let the doctors look at you. That is what a wife, a concerned wife, would do. But what did Jill Biden do? She was so concerned that she started this chant on stage. 4 more years, Joe. And he looks like, yeah. But no, she's out there, and Joe, you did so good, and you answered all the questions, and she talked to him like he was in a first or second grade class. Oh, you did so good. You colored in the lines, Joe. Oh, it was so good. But yet she was so worried that her husband might have had a stroke that she started a chant of 4 more years. Yeah. Unbelievable. Let's go to Dean in Cashville. Dean, welcome.
Hello, Charlie. Charlie, I understand the sentiment behind the individual who doesn't think that that the one side should play the other side. Here's why people are in favor of redistricting. For starters, what you just talked about. But this was a news story yesterday from another network. This is what's going on. Most people have sung the song, the hymn, How Great Is Our God in church. Chris Tomlin wrote it. There was a news report yesterday on a liberal network equating that song, because it has been sung at certain political events, sometimes spontaneously, no soundtrack. They are basically saying that this song is, well, for lack of a better term, really aggressive hate speech. The reason people want redistricting is because when they are starting to say that you cannot sing a hymn, How Great Is Our God, because it has been sung at places that
So they call it Christian nationalism. I get it. I appreciate it, Dean. Got to hit a break here. When we get back, we'll talk with Fred West. He is running for agricultural commissioner. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour, every afternoon on The Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Pew Scatter.
Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie.
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
And welcome back to the program. As my computer has frozen and I can't play the Pledge of Allegiance just yet, but I promise you I will get to that just as soon as it unsticks itself. All right, again, welcome back to the program. Glad to have you along with us on this Thursday afternoon. Well, we've got several races out there, and we will get to one of our candidates for the Commissioner of Agriculture coming up in just a second. But right now, here's the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
America is back.
All right, and we are back. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, Commissioner of Agriculture is one of the races that is on the ballot this year, and we're talking with one of the candidates, Fred West, who is joining us right now. Fred, welcome to the program. Hope you're doing well.
Charlie, thanks for having me, man.
So what made you decide that this is the time I'm going to get in the race? I would love to be Commissioner of Agriculture because these are the problems that I want to fix.
It's an interesting little story. I grew up in South Carolina my whole life and grew up in what I would call kind of a tough family situation. So I knew what it was like as a teenager to be hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what it was like to not necessarily know where we were going to sleep. I was not, and I say this very clearly for folks, I was not blessed to be born into a farming family. I wish I had been, but I hadn't. But in 1999, when I went to work for Amick Farms, which is a South Carolina poultry processing company,
Yep.
I look back now, 25 years later, and it changed my life. It gave me opportunities I don't believe any other industry would have given a kid that came up from that kind of family and didn't go to Yale. And just to be able to learn and grow as an executive and take on more and more blessed me that I could even retire at 59. I remember when I retired, I was talking to my wife, Michelle. I said, look, we got to find a way to give back. South Carolina Ag and South Carolina's been good to us and our family. We've got to find a way to give back. The current commissioner, who has been the commissioner for 22 years, the longest serving commissioner in the nation, I've worked with him for 22 years, and he's retiring. And he began to poke and prod and say, you ought to consider this, you ought to consider this. So I would tell you the reason that I'm really jumping in the race is I have a debt. I believe I have a debt back to South Carolina agriculture for what it gave to me as a career and opportunity and learning and growing. And I think it's worthy to pay that debt off. Now, I'd also tell you that I think the two things that I would venture to say are the top priorities out of the box is our farming in South Carolina is in a crisis. It's not that they've had a bad year or they're having a tough time. You are looking at farmers in the face and you recognize they may be out of business if we don't do something to help with their business conditions, their markets.
Right.
And then the second piece, I think, Charlie, is, a lot of people, a lot of citizens don't realize what the department does. We inspect all restaurants now for food safety. We inspect all gas pumps in the state. We inspect grocery store scales in every grocery store. There's a whole host of consumer protection functions that just because the citizens don't know it's happening, it still has to happen, and it still has to happen well. So I think those two things, the crisis that we've got to deal with, and then just to make sure that our consumer protection is best in class for the citizens of this state is kind of what drives me.
So I want to get back, because what was it about farming that really, I guess it saved you in some way? What was it about that particular industry that really got you on the track that you're on now?
It's an amazing industry, very unique compared to other industries. So when I first got out of school, I was doing HR for kind of a computer consulting company. Then I went to work for Ryan's Family Steakhouses, which at the time was the middle of the ball in South Carolina. It was 30,000 employees and 400 stores. I handled HR for the Southeast. What ag brought to me was ag is an interesting space for career that if you, and I tell this to students and young people all the time, if you know how to work hard and you want to learn, ag is a space that you'll be given that opportunity, and it typically ends up in growth. So when I looked at Amick Farms, I started as their VP of HR, but as we grew as a company from one plant to 3 plants in 3 states, and 3,500 employees, and processing 4 million birds a week, as we grew, I was given the opportunity and leadership to lead everything from safety to IT to engineering, food regulatory affairs, food safety, legislative affairs. I ran the plants for a time. I ran the live operations for a time, and I was on the mergers and acquisition team. And again, I look back and recognize there are a lot of other industries that would not have given me that chance. And I'm not saying they're bad industries. I'm just saying ag is a space that typically when you come in and work hard and you want to learn, there's going to be opportunities put before you.
What kind of separates you from the other candidates running for this office?
It's a good question, and one of the things I've said, since the other last year, I started campaigning in January of 25, and for a year I was the only candidate. So I like to tell people I was in the lead all last year because I was the only candidate. But the 3 guys that jumped in the race, I will tell you and anybody else that they are good men. It's been fun to run with them. They all are very dedicated to South Carolina and South Carolina agriculture. The biggest defining difference is that I have decades experience in running and leading a complex, chaotic, almost crazy organization. And that's really what the department has become when you look at 260 employees and $60 million budget, and you're dealing with everything from farmers to restaurants to grocery stores. It's a pretty diverse agency when you really step back and look at it. So I think I always look back at hiring. I've hired, thousands of people in my career, and I always tell people I was training to hire, you don't hire based off the job title. You hire based off the job description. And when you look at this job description, the one thing that I think really matters, especially with a crisis facing us, is experience. And I think that's the thing that I bring to the table, is that experience in the agribusiness sector, decades of it, that I can put that to use day one.
How much do regulations hurt our farmers?
I think the interesting thing about it is because we're growing as a state, and you're seeing the pressures of what I would call overdevelopment. You're seeing a lot of spaces really try to reinterpret what the codes say. So there's a lot of what I would call kind of protections or kind of good fences there for farmers that I think the state has always recognized that it's a unique industry and can't be treated just like a regular commercial operation. But you're seeing, because of growth in our area, counties or cities or neighborhoods trying to figure out how do we plan this stuff? How do we manage this stuff? So I think the biggest risk for farmers right now is kind of the reinterpretation of what's there. I think there's some good things in our regulations and our code that really show that we've got to protect that agriculture. It's the number 1 industry in the state.
Sure.
We're $52 billion a year, more than tourism. But if we're not careful, when you lose ag production, it really never comes back. So I think for me, a lot of it is that I don't think farmers really have a problem with working between the lines. I think it's when things start getting reinterpreted and they get pushed more into a commercial operation, which really doesn't fit the industry.
There's a lot of competition out there, especially with some of the Chinese and other entities coming in buying up farmland. We're talking with Fred West, who's running for agricultural commissioner. Should we limit the amount of property that the Chinese government can own here in the United States, especially as far as farmland is concerned?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, so there's probably in the United States, there's about 400,000 acres that are owned, ag acres that are owned by Chinese businesses. And I would ask you, do you know how many acres of ag land a U.S. business owns in China?
Yeah,
None.
Zero. Yeah, none.
Right.
None. There's no reciprocity there.
Exactly. So part of my experience that I tell people is, we sold product all over the world. So I have stood in international markets in Asia, Japan, Central America, Europe. I've been to China, and I see how their system works. And when somebody says, hey, it's an unlevel playing field with China, I want to be clear, that's not true. It's a completely different game. It's not even in the same stadium, so it's not the same field. They do business completely different over there, and I'm not saying it's evil or awful. It's just different. I think having that firsthand knowledge of how that works gives me some interesting insight into, number one, China is a market for all agriculture in the United States of America. We're talking about tens of billions of dollars is sold to China. For South Carolina, it's tens of millions of dollars is sold to China. So to me, that's a market that I want to be able to give people the opportunity, if they want to go sell product there, they go sell product there. When it comes to our ag land, Charlie, I'm sorry. When it comes to our ag land, the first thing I would tell you is if we can fix the crisis in farming to where our farmers are really prospering, most of the farmers I know want to farm. They're wired that way. It's their DNA. It's what they're called by God to do. If they can prosper and make a living, they'll stay in it and they'll turn things down. I do believe that right now you're seeing our state be particularly sensitive to foreign adversaries buying land. And some of it is because we've got so much business coming here already. So, I mean, the amount of space you're talking about, there's a big competition there. The federal government, and if you look back in the late 90s and early 2000s, they were courting Chinese business to come here and buy things. And we've got Chinese businesses here that do just fine. I think that the citizens of the state, and what I would do as commissioner, stand up for the state. I think the citizens of South Carolina really want to protect from foreign adversaries owning our ag land.
Absolutely. What is your stance on farms being able to sell directly to the community?
I think COVID taught us a lot. It was an interesting time to be in the food business, to where, for example, we were continuing to process chicken, and we had chicken everywhere. What broke down was the distribution system that would take our chicken to Charlotte, then to Atlanta, then to distribution hubs, and then to a grocery store. So though there was meat out there, when you went to the grocery store, a lot of times it wasn't there. So I think that began to get a lot of our citizens talking about, hey, how do we buy more local? And I will tell you, that goes back to, again, how do we help farmers prosper? If we can buy more local food from them, it helps them continue their business and prosper in their business. I do think that we have lost in our state in the last, 8 years, 10 years, food and agribusiness processing capacity more than any other time in the state. So we got to pull those processing facilities back here, those value add, that fully cooked, that food manufacturer that wants to use our commodities, what we're growing, to really make food. Because again, food is national security. So food security is national security, even for the state. If we can make sure we probably only use, I bet right now you could say that we probably import as a state about 70% of our food, which, I mean, we're not going to grow pineapples. We're not going to grow pineapples, right? We're just not going to do that. But how do we create, I think the consumers in our state want local. We've got to create a way to connect to farmers and let them buy local, and then let that farmer prosper.
All right, there you go. Fred West, running for agricultural commissioner. I appreciate you. Good luck, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Charlie, thank you so much, brother.
Take care. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
spitting truth bombs longer than he drives off the tee. It's the Charlie James Show.
News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Isolated.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, welcome back to the program. Let's go to Gerald in Cowpens. How you doing, Gerald?
All right, my friend. Now, Charlie, I might be right for once in my life, but I think TSA is under the Department of Agriculture.
I'm going to have to double check that. But if that were the case, then they would be funded.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I'm not sure who actually funds TSA. Maybe some of the listeners out there could let us know. I appreciate it. I want to get back real quick. We don't have a lot of time in this segment. We're going to be talking with Representative Nancy Mace coming up. I know I spent a little more time with Fred West because I love farmers. I love farming. I'm not a farmer, have never farmed, but man, I love the industry, and I think those folks do a great job. This interview with Jill Biden, they gave that to Rita Braver. And when Jill Biden said that she thought that her husband, Joe Biden, had a stroke, that would have been, I believe, that would have been the perfect opportunity for somebody like Rita Braver to come up with a follow-up question. And that follow-up question, what it should have been, if you thought your husband was having a stroke, why did you go to Waffle House after? Why didn't you get him to a hospital?
Mr. President, how did you perform tonight? I think we did well. Do you have any concerns that
She's a big liar. She's a big fat liar. She didn't think Joe Biden was having a stroke. That was just Joe being Joe. If she literally thought that Joe Biden was having a stroke on that stage in that debate against Donald Trump, they wouldn't have gone, or they shouldn't have gone to the Waffle House. But then again, when you look at the way that she pushed this guy, I mean, come on, we can all call it what it is. It was elder abuse from the get-go, from day one. I thought my husband had a stroke, and right after the debate, we did not go to the hospital. We didn't get him checked out by a doctor. We went straight to Waffle House because I think that's the recommended protocol if you're having a stroke. Go get you some hash browns, scattered, covered, smothered. One of those double cheeseburgers that I love so much. Well, we'll be right back. Nancy Mace will be joining us. Coming up next is the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Honest views, trusted news. This is the Charlie James Show
On News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas. Chat with Charlie.
800-905-0989. Save it on your phone.
This is the Charlie James Show, only on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
We got a lot going on in South Carolina. Joining us right now is Representative Nancy Mace. Representative Mace, welcome to the program. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well, Charlie. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, start off redistricting. That failed here in South Carolina. You went on with Matt Gaetz. You called out the then 6 rhinos who voted against it. Now it's up to the dirty dozen. How would you have stood up to these people in Columbia that are obviously working against the president's agenda?
Well, I spoke to the White House 2 days ago when it happened. I told them under Governor Mace this would have never happened, and they nodded in agreement. And in fact, I was the one that, look, there are a lot of ads being played out there that are not true. And I will tell you, I'm the only candidate running for governor that has a direct line to the president. Like, I have his personal cell phone. And when that was going down, I texted the president and I gave him an update. This is after he had talked to Shane Massey. And I said, Mr. President, you need to put pressure on Henry McMaster to call for a special session at 5:01 p.m. right when the Senate adjourns, and pressure them to get those maps sent and reconvene 1 minute after 5 p.m. And wouldn't you know, an hour or two later, that's what was announced in the press that Henry was going to do, and he did it. So, you know, I use my relationships. I have a great relationship with President Trump. I have a good relationship with the legislature. But make no mistake, this was South Carolina's governor and lieutenant governor's failure. They were the ones at the Capitol. They were the ones that should have been whipping votes. And I gave the White House a play-by-play that if I were governor, this is what we would have done. We would have whipped votes a long time ago. As soon as the ruling came down from the Supreme Court, there would have never been any ifs, ands, or buts. We would have been at the table with the dirty dozen, or whomever that was, through the 6 or the 12, whenever, and negotiated our way through that, because that's the only way we do it. And I can tell you that the White House was very disappointed, particularly with folks that were a surprise on this vote. I didn't have to be this way, and it gave the Democrats a reason to get to the polls. There was record turnout Tuesday, not by Republicans, but by Democrats. And we gave them a wedge that we don't need. And we know that we've got more Democrats moving here than ever before because we're the fastest growing state in the country. Horry County, by the way, is the fastest growing county in the country. And so we have all this growth. Basically, the upstate is a suburb of either Atlanta or a suburb of Charlotte. That's what it's becoming. And we can't allow these people to come in. We can't allow Republicans that are really Democrats, dressed up as Republicans, to lead the legislature as they have for decades. And that's why this governor's race is so important. If we elect the wrong person, we're going to get the same thing we've always gotten, which is absolutely nowhere. And, I tell the truth, Charlie, I've been coming on your show for a long time. I put my money where my mouth is. If I say I'm going to do something, I actually do it. And every policy I propose, from banning foreigners in our elections and elected office to banning illegals. I just found out the other day that non-citizens are getting in-state tuition in South Carolina. That happened under Republican governor and Republican lieutenant governor Pamela Yvette. That's what that happened under. I learned last year that we had transgenders, mentally ill men, in our girls' dorms, in our state-funded colleges and universities, in their bathrooms. Republican leadership allowed this kind of thing to happen in our state. And I can tell you, the way that I fight, that does not happen under a Governor Mace administration. And the White House knows that. Everybody knows that. That's why they're terrified of me in Columbia.
But there's a commercial out there talking about how you are pro-trans rights.
That's crazy. That's Pam Yvette. Pam Yvette made millions of dollars selling DEI and teaching DEI to other companies. Now she's using those millions of dollars she made off of DEI to say I'm some sort of DEI woke mob. I'm literally the person that banned Tim McBride from using the ladies' room. I'm the one that Donald Trump recognized when he was signing the bill to ban men and women's sports, out of women's sports. I'm the one he called and recognized in front of our own lieutenant governor. He didn't call her by name and recognize her the way that he recognized me. It was me. And so I've done so much to ban men and women's sports, to get them out of our bathrooms. I'm the one that exposed Clemson, Carolina, and Coastal Carolina University, she didn't do that. I did that. And so to say that I'm some sort of pro-trans person, and they're using AI, by the way. They're using AI, fake AI, showing me at a gay pride parade. I've never been to a gay event in my life, number one. But they're using this technology and AI in data centers they want built here in South Carolina to tell all these lies. That's what the deep state does. That's what the millions of dark money does. That's what the money Pam has made off of DEI is doing. And I just pray that voters see it for what it is. They see the truth. I'm the only one that's been fighting this thing day in and day out. And by the way, I'm the one with transgenders in jail for threatening to kill me. In fact, I've got one in Greenville right now that hasn't been let out on bond because he continues to threaten to kill me. And so none of them have that. I am like an enemy of the transgender mob. And they want me dead. They literally want me dead.
You just mentioned Carolina and Clemson. How do you feel about Clemson's new choice for president? Wildly in favor of DEI, actually advocated the 1619 Project. Did Clemson make a mistake?
It sounds like that would be a Pam Avett choice because she's the one that made millions off of DEI, selling DEI to other companies. That's what these Republicans do. They give a head nod to folks that are not representative of our values, our South Carolina values. And that wouldn't happen under my watch. And it was me last year that called the former president of Clemson when there was a 15 gender form on their website, and male and female weren't two of the options. I'm the one that called the president of the college and called them out on it. And within 24 hours, they did the right thing and they took it down. But that wasn't until I put something out publicly on X, on Twitter, on Facebook, which you can follow me at Nancy Mace or at Nancy R. Mace. You can see all the work I've done to expose woke judges, woke colleges, all of those things. I've done that. No other candidate in this race has exposed this kind of thing, the woke mob, the trans mob, as much as I have. And I've risked my life to do it. I'm the one that was assaulted at the Capitol last year by a 400-pound pro-transgender guy that said that trans kids should have surgery. I mean, some of the craziest stuff. But those are the lies they're spending millions of dollars telling you, the voter in the upstate and all across the state of South Carolina, and it's disgusting.
Unless there's a national emergency or a new corporation is coming to South Carolina, we never see Henry McMaster. Would you be a more visible governor than Henry McMaster is?
I am very accessible. And in fact, I've been giving out my personal cell phone. So if you're on the fence right now, you can call me or text me on my personal phone, which is 843-475-9139. You can give it to your friends. I show up. I go to council meetings, county council, city council, school board meetings. I spent half my day Tuesday in a courtroom, in a court hearing regarding Silfab. That is a company in York County where the people didn't get a say, didn't get a hearing, where these heavy chemicals that could kill children in the area, potentially if there was a chemical spill that they weren't knowledgeable of. They're fighting it in court. I show up. And in fact, Spartanburg's fighting the same thing, Spartanburg County, over a data center. You know, I don't want the upstate to turn into North Georgia where they're using eminent domain to take people's land and property and give them to data centers. So like when there's a hearing for a murder trial, I show up if the family asks me to. This is what I've been doing since I was elected to Congress, is that I believe in the people over the powerful. And I show up to court, I show up to hearings, I show up to council meetings because it means something when someone shows up. And sometimes, Charlie, I'm very good at this, I'll bring local camera crews, local news crews into the room to make sure that our judges know that I'm watching, because they get away literally with murder. They release violent offenders that go on to execute people like Logan Federico in Columbia last year. And that's not going to happen under my watch. I'm the one that showed up and took out a sanctuary sheriff in South Carolina in 2024 when not a single statewide elected official, not our governor, not our lieutenant governor, no one stood up to a sanctuary sheriff in South Carolina. I got her unelected. So, you know, I want to remind people these are all the things that I have done. And imagine what I can do when I'm governor if I've done all these things for one small congressional district. Imagine that times 7, since we have 7 congressional districts. Imagine what we can do to clean up the state of South Carolina when we work together and elect me as governor on June 9th.
All right, early voting has started. The primaries are June 9th. Nancy Mace, our representative from the 1st Congressional District running for governor. Ms. Mace, Nancy, thank you so much for joining us
God
this
bless
afternoon.
you.
We
Thank
appreciate
you, Charlie.
it. Bye-bye.
As always, God bless.
We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Streaming stimulating talk and breaking news on your phone 24/7 on the Odyssey app. You're on the drive with the Charlie James Show.
News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas. Interact on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line.
800-905-0989. Text or call. One number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Well, as we were talking with Representative Nancy Mace a few minutes ago, the Clemson University has made their pick for the new president, the 16th president of Clemson University, Kevin Guskiewicz, a PhD. Dr. Kevin Guskiewicz. This guy, I got to check my map. Is Clemson actually in South Carolina? Is Clemson University in the state of South Carolina, or are they in like Chicago or something like that? Are they really here? Because they're not acting like they're really here. This is a very conservative state, and they're acting like anything but conservatives at Clemson University, but that's just the way the higher education system operates. You see, they've infiltrated our school systems. I'm talking about from kindergarten all the way up to the PhD track. Every bit of it is dominated by radical liberals. So why should we expect for a college, even here in Ruby Red, South Carolina, why does it shock us that they hire somebody like Kevin Guskiewicz? I'll call him Mr. Guskiewicz just to make him mad, because they always like to be called doctor. Mr. Guskiewicz. This is a guy who, he was at or recommended, he supported tenure for a woman at the University of North Carolina, Professor Hannah Jones. Professor Hannah Jones was one of the authors of the New Origin story, the 1619 Project. She wants to go on to say that 1619 was the real founding of the United States. It wasn't 1776. No. It was 1619. Because that's when the first slaves were brought to our shores. Now, why does she want to do that? Because if you really look at the actual date of July 4th, 1776, when this country was actually founded, we only had slavery in this country for like 80 years. 80 years. That's why we would actually be one of the countries with the shortest lifespan of slavery. Founded 1776, 80 years later, it was done away with. But in order to keep driving the narrative, people like Hannah Jones wants to say, no, we were really founded in 1619. That was actually the origins of this country. Oh, okay. Why? Because it makes the story sound more plausible. When they say we've had 400 years of slavery here in the United States, well, the math doesn't add up. If you just say, no, we haven't, we were only founded and, only been around for 250 years. Slavery was only around for 80 years after that. See, that story, that doesn't make a good story. So people like Hannah Jones, they come out and they say, oh, no, it was 1619. But it's not only that. This guy, Mr. Guskiewicz, he's a real big advocate of DEI programs. He's a passionate DEI advocate. And now he's going to be the president of Clemson University. Good grief. Good grief. Jim Clements stepped down, 5 months ago? And now they hired this, oh my gosh. Y'all get ready to see what happens at Clemson University under this guy's tenure. Wait and see what happens. I'll bet they're planning their first drag show right now. I'll bet they are. I'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour on The Charlie James Show. Afternoons 3 to 7 on News Talk 98.9.
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie.
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, welcome back to the program. Isn't it amazing? I was watching this video of all these liberals at some of these ICE facilities. They're rioting again. I don't know if you noticed. They're rioting. They're attacking federal officers. They're doing all the things that liberals do because liberals have they're incapable of self-control. And that's really where they are. They cannot control themselves. And they have no thoughts of personal responsibility. They really don't. I mean, they attack federal agents. They don't, and then they call the federal agents Nazis. And they say that we're Nazis. And Donald Trump's a Nazi, and all this is just Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. Meanwhile, in Maine, they're going to actually elect a guy with a Nazi tattoo, or used to have a Nazi tattoo on his chest until he covered it up, in Graham Plattner. So, we're Nazis, according to them. But they want to shut us up. They want to talk about freedom of speech, but they want to take away our freedom of speech. They want to talk about freedom of assembly, but they want to take away our freedom of assembly. There's a guy that just got arrested in San Antonio. His name is Jacob Winsky. 26-year-old man, Jacob Winsky. Jacob Winsky was just arrested for making terroristic threats against Erica Kirk. Now listen to this. I'm going to tell you what he did, and then I'm going to tell you what his bond was set at. Are you ready? Investigators in San Antonio police said that Winsky had replied in April to a post about Turning Point USA's forthcoming Women's Leadership Summit, writing, "I know exactly where to bomb. I can't wait to be the valet for her escort." An email from an account registered to Winsky said, per court documents, "Death to Erica Kirk and every single speaker there. America will live on without those scum on this earth. Every Christian nationalist shall perish in the bombing that will take place at every single Turning Point event and rally." That's what Jacob Winsky wrote. They set his bond in San Antonio at a mere $120,000. That's it. This dude shouldn't have even been given bond. This was literally an act of so what we do is we now give domestic terrorists bond? Is that what we do? Yeah, you just pay 10% of that and everything's good. Yeah, that's what they got. So this guy not only threatened to kill Erica Kirk, he threatened to kill all of the speakers that were at the Turning Point, at that Turning Point USA event, and everybody at all the Turning Point USA events. And for that, he got a bond of $120,000. But we're the Nazis? Somebody explain that to me. How are we Nazis? We want freedom of speech. We want all the freedoms. All the freedoms. We want everybody to just go out there and live their life to the fullest. That's fine. The only thing we're asking to do is maybe not have illegal aliens in this country, especially criminal illegal aliens in this country who are killing people, raping, murdering, robbing, fraud, arson. I got those mixed up. Fraud, arson, larceny is what I meant to say. That's what we just want the illegal aliens off the streets. But for that, what does that get you? What does that get you? It gets you killed. It gets you murdered like they murdered Charlie Kirk. It gets you shot at in Butler. It almost gets you shot down in Florida. Almost gets you shot several times in Washington, D.C. Almost gets you shot at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. That's what they do. That is their actual Nazi terrorism tactics that they commit every single day. And I'll tell you what, I have not seen a single Democrat come out and denounce these people. I haven't seen, in fact, I've seen quite the opposite. I've seen exactly the opposite in these Democrats. I've seen Democrats call for violence, loudly call for violence. They are the most violent among us. Let's take a listen to some of these Democrats calling for violence. It's amazing.
Just to be clear, we are well past ICE at this point. It is now fight ICE.
Oh, well, she was trying to run him over. It's self-defense. I wish she was, and I wish she did. And guess what? If she did and he died, I would have celebrated because ICE aren't people. They're demons in human form.
Yeah, just to be entirely clear here, just to not split any hairs, if you support ICE, you are just as bad as ICE. You're a cancer on humanity that should be excised. That is to say, I want you dead.
The only true way to make America great again is to kill a Nazi. So good luck, Godspeed.
I have an idea. A No Kings protest, but we have weapons and we use them.
Violence against the state. The answer is violence against the state. It's always been violence has always been the answer. If you are not loudly advocating for the death and imprisonment of almost everyone in this administration and everyone that has participated in these ICE operations, then you're a collaborator.
Remember, if ICE tries to police your polling station, mark your ballot in their blood. Thank you.
I don't want impeachment. I don't want them to serve time. I want them taken into the city town square, hung from their ankles, and cut them from groin to chin.
Wow, she sounds nice. That's the Democrat Party. Literally, that is where the Democrat Party is going. Now, it used to be many years ago, even the Democrats would have said, you people are crazy, get out of our midst. But they don't do that anymore. They don't do it because they agree with it. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of non-stop breaking news and stimulating talk jumpstarts every hour on the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9
WORD,
the voice of the Carolinas.
Isolated showers and storms.
Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right. Well, E. Jean Carroll, the woman who accused Donald Trump of raping her in a department store changing room, which exactly mirrored an episode of a police drama. I thought, what was it? It was whatever, one of those crime dramas. It mirrored that exactly. This is a woman that nobody ever saw her and Donald Trump together. Nobody ever saw them in the department store. What she said she was looking at were designs that weren't even done at the time. And she accused Donald Trump of raping her. Now, she sued Donald Trump for defamation and won a lot of money. But there's a lot of things that E. Jean Carroll left out of her deposition when she was accusing Donald Trump of rape, or should I say, a lot of discrepancies. And one of those is who was actually funding her. E. Jean Carroll, now the Department of Justice, has opened an investigation. E. Jean Carroll is being investigated for crimes as likely are the entities or charities tied to Reid Hoffman, given that the investigation is being run out of Chicago. Reid Hoffman, big donor to Nikki Haley, by the way, funded E. Jean Carroll's lawfare suit against President Trump. So now Todd Blanche is looking at it. So if you're on LinkedIn, which I don't know anybody that is, but if you're on LinkedIn, that's Reid Hoffman's joint. Companies or their principals are making money off ordinary Americans only to turn around and use it to try to thwart the political choices made by ordinary Americans. So there we are. So E. Jean, have you seen this one? Take a listen to this from CNN. Wait a minute, hold on.
Have often spoken about is the lack of disclosure about a big Democratic donor funding part of this case. Was there a reason it wasn't disclosed, and did you view this as political in any way?
No, I just completely forgot that he even existed.
In your deposition?
Yes, in my deposition.
Another thing that he...
You forgot that the guy that was funding your lawsuit against Donald Trump even existed? By the way, E. Jean Carroll could do a really good Nancy Pelosi impression if she wanted. She'd be wonderful at that. This is a woman who had an interview on CNN that was so cringy that Anderson Cooper immediately went to commercial. Let's take a listen to what she said.
Don't feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
He's like, all right. Okay, let's take a short break because that's cuckoo. This woman is nuts. So now the Justice Department opened an investigation into E. Jean Carroll. Now we'll see what happens with this. We know what was going on. We know exactly what was going on. I mean, look, you got Reid Hoffman, like I said, supporting Nikki Haley in her run against Donald Trump. I've never lost a race and I don't intend to lose one now. Well, you did. Good. Lost by over 30 points in your home state. So why would Nikki Haley take money from somebody like Reid Hoffman? That's my big question. He was the guy that funded the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit. So yeah, maybe. We'll see. All of that stuff, all of that BS that she went out there and spewed, and people lapped it up. Oh, they loved it. And like I said, anything against Donald Trump. Anything. They're just looking for something to hang around his neck. And they're not being very good at it. Well, who is going to run in the next presidential election for the Democrats? There's a new poll out by Polling USA, and this kind of shocks me. This shocks me. So who do you think the front runners are in the Democrat Party for president? Gavin Newsom. Yeah, that's a name that comes up a lot. Kamala Harris. That name comes up a lot. J.B. Pritzker. Maybe a lot of people thinking that he might be the candidate. Do you want to hear how the breakdown comes? A brand new poll, Polling USA, has, I'm shocked at this, Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg is like leading the pack for the Democrats. The guy that literally, this guy, he was the transportation secretary. Listen to this. He took 6 weeks off and nobody noticed. Nobody cared because he didn't do anything. He took maternity leave or something like that when he and his husband adopted a child, or two as twins, right? Pete Buttigieg coming in at 18%. Gavin Newsom at 16%. Here's another shocker. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez coming in at 11%. Now, she's supposed to be a big feminist, right? So why did she put on a hijab in New York City with Mayor Zohran Mamdani? That's amazing. Let's see. Governor Shapiro, Ben Shapiro coming in at Josh Shapiro. Sorry, not Ben Shapiro. Josh Shapiro coming in at 10%. Kamala Harris at 10%. Bashir at 9%. Pritzker's only coming in at 4%. Now, there was a time when I would have said, yes, go AOC. I want you to run for president. But, man, I tell you what, the way the Democrat Party is now, I don't trust that to be a sure defeat for the Democrats. Just like I'm just this much nervous about the Senate race in Texas between Ken Paxton and James Tallarico. We'll talk about that a little bit. Coming up next, it's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
When he's not mowing his yard, he's mowing down liberal nonsense. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Let your fingers do the talking.
Text the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line at 800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, welcome back to the program. One of the things about this election cycle that really disturbs me, and I don't like, I understand it. But just because you understand something doesn't mean you have to like it. Right? I mean, I understand beets are good for you. I don't like them. I understand that Brussels sprouts are good for you. I don't like them. So just because I understand something doesn't mean I got to like it. I do not like the fact, even though I do understand it, that Donald Trump endorsed Lindsey Graham. The man who was booed off the stage practically in Pickens County. The man that said, if you want to make America great again, you tell Donald Trump to go to hell. The man who said, he said this about the J6ers.
It wasn't peaceful. I was there. If it had been up to me, I would have shot some of these people in the head.
So that's a sitting senator talking about shooting American citizens in the head. I don't like the fact that Donald Trump endorsed Lindsey Graham, but I understand why he did it. Sometimes you have to make frenemies. Lindsey Graham is a useful tool to Donald Trump, and I will tell you right now, I'll make this prediction again. I've done it before. I'll do it again. If Lindsey Graham wins this primary, and if Lindsey Graham goes on to win against Dr. Annie Andrews in the general election, in the midterms, Lindsey Graham is going to turn on Donald Trump in a huge way. He's already done it. He's already stabbed Donald Trump in the back. This week, he did it. Lindsey Graham was talking about how this Iran deal was a bad deal and it would give Iran a victory and all of this garbage. And it was so bad that President Trump had to come out with a statement saying, all you panicans out there, you don't even know what the deal is. None of the terms of this deal has been released. Nobody knows what this deal is. For all you listening in the back, nobody knows what the deal is. The White House isn't talking. So all of that was just speculation. So Lindsey Graham, on speculation, was criticizing Donald Trump and the deal. Donald Trump's not going to take a bad deal. So I predict Lindsey Graham wins another term in the Senate. He's going to turn on Donald Trump. Watch it. Hold me accountable. Let's watch it happen. It's going to happen. But you see, a Donald Trump endorsement is a valuable thing. And it's, in fact, and I mentioned this earlier in the program, because Donald Trump's endorsement is valuable, what do people try to do to valuable things? They try to steal them. And there's some people out there that are actually trying to steal Donald Trump's endorsements. Matt Lieber, State Senator Matt Lieber. Listen to this. This is what he posted. I support Senator Goldfinch in the South Carolina Attorney General race, and so does President Trump! Well, there's only one problem with that. President Trump hasn't endorsed anybody in the South Carolina Attorney General race. So that was a bold-faced lie. A bold-faced lie. Bald-faced. I don't know which one it is, bold or bald. Bald-faced lie. The Matt Lieber told. And then you go to the Greenville County Republican Party. Here's what Jeff Davis said. Hashtag vote Pasco. Trump will be happy if you do. Really? Trump will be, trying to use the name of Donald Trump to push the candidate, the Jeff Davis. And did you ever wonder, was it last year? It was like early last year, maybe a little bit longer than that the Greenville County Republican Party had David Pasco come talk to them. Do you remember that? And everybody was like, hold on, wait a minute. Why is the Greenville County Republican Party having David Pascoe, a Democrat at the time, come speak to him. And everybody thought that was quite curious. Has this plan for David Pascoe to turn to being a Republican, has that been in the works that long? I don't know. But it's a good question to ask. So then David Pascoe, lifelong Democrat, campaigns for Joe Biden, campaigns for, I forget the guy's name, Todd Rutherford, calls, Clyburn the godfather of South Carolina politics. All of a sudden becomes a Republican. Why? Because Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris. It wasn't abortion. It wasn't immigration. It wasn't the economy. It wasn't Hunter Biden's laptop. It wasn't any of that stuff. It was just because he picked Kamala Harris as his running mate. That's what tore it for Pascoe. Well, that's weird. So, would Donald Trump be happy if you voted for David Pascoe? Well, the answer is no. This is what Donald Trump put on his Truth Social page. I love the great state of South Carolina, won every one of my races there by a landslide, and I only want the best representing you in elected office. There's this rhino candidate in the Palmetto State named David Pascoe, a lifelong Democrat who previously endorsed crooked Joe Biden for president and served as Biden co-chair in South Carolina, who is running on the Republican primary to be your next attorney general. Pascoe is a total fraud and a phony and is no friend of our incredible movement to make South Carolina and America great again. To our amazing South Carolina MAGA patriots, please make sure you get out and vote against Rhino David Pascoe in the June Republican primary for attorney general, and make sure he never holds elected office again. But there are some people out there that are going, you know what? Donald Trump isn't as MAGA as us. I find that to be laughable. We're the real MAGA. Donald Trump's not MAGA. We're the real MAGA. I mean, hold on. Who's the one that started the red hats? Who's the one that used that phrase at every single one of his campaign rallies? Who's the one that I knew it was used years and years ago, I think during the Charles Lindbergh campaign, but make America great again. That's Donald Trump. That is Donald Trump. And now there are people saying they're more Donald Trump than Donald Trump. In fact, didn't David Pascoe say that? So of all of these races out there, that is, and then you've got Stephen Goldfinch. Okay, now you go to Stephen Goldfinch. Stephen Goldfinch, South Carolina Attorney General candidate, supported a liberal, child transgender affirming former Myrtle Beach Mayor Brenda Bethune, who said that transitioning a child is love. And Goldfinch supported her. Then you get Pascoe supporting somebody like Heather Bauer, who is like, oh, let's everybody have an abortion. That I don't get. So of all of these races that we've got going on right now, this race, the race for Attorney General, is the one that I'm absolutely 100% sure who I am going to vote for. No questions asked. And it's not going to be Goldfinch, and it's not going to be Pascoe. I'm voting for Stumbo on this one. We'll be right back. This is the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Streaming stimulating talk and breaking news on your phone 24/7 on the Odyssey app. You're on the drive with the Charlie James Show.
News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, here's what I love. This is from 135. Texter 135. Okay, now listen to the condescending attitude that this guy puts out there. Are you ready? Okay, I'm going to say this slowly for the Republican sheeple. Donald Trump betrayed everything that was Make America Great Again because we got lots of new wars. This is that 5-year-old mentality that I talk about that a lot of people have. First of all, Donald Trump campaigned on no forever wars, but let's just take your thesis here for a moment. Let's say, and I've used this analogy before, but I think it's appropriate. Let's say you tell your kids, I got a surprise for you. This summer, when school's out, we're going to Disney World. Oh, yay, we love you, Dad. You're awesome. Do you really mean it? Yep, kids, we're going to Disney World. You promise, Dad? I promise. We're going to Disney World. When school's out, going to Disney World. We're going to have a great time. Going to get the Mickey Mouse ears. Going to get the Little Mermaid bubble wand. Endorsed by Lindsey Graham. We're going to get all. We're going to have a great time going to Disney World. I promise we're going to Disney World. Oh, Dad, you're the best. We love you. And then, the week before the trip is supposed to happen, the transmission on the car goes out. Now you got to get a new transmission. And then you go to the kids and you go, kids, this is, I hate to do this. It's completely unavoidable. But we're not going to be able to go to Disney World. You promised. Oh, you said we were going to Disney World. We can't. You betrayed us. Oh, that's that 5-year-old mentality. This deal that we've got going on with Iran started 47 years ago. And nobody has done anything about it. Obama gave them a bribe of what? Over $1 billion? In cash, small bills, unmarked bills, dead of night, put it on a plane, flew it over there. They did nothing about it. And meanwhile, what did Iran do? And we warned you, I was down in Charleston when this happened. I just warned you, this Iranian deal is not going to work. Oh, no, Charlie, it's the only way to peace. It's the only way to peace. So these people had 60% enriched uranium. There are no civilian applications for 60% enriched uranium. None. You don't need it that pure. And that was just a hop, skip, and a jump away from full nuclear weapons grade uranium. They even said they had enough for 11 nuclear warheads. So President Trump, rightfully so, decided that he was going to take care of the situation. And that's where we are right now. Oh, but you promised no new wars, and now we hate you. How thin-skinned are you? Where you don't understand the complexity of geoglobal politics and the bad actors that are out there. You promised. So, there you go. There you go. So, 135. With such an in-depth planning on response to my text, I'm just going to tell you, stop coping, stop LARPing. I don't know, even live action role play. Shut up. Just hush. Just hush. You're really the mentality of a 5-year-old is what it is, and Disney World. So, there you go. Who I am worried about is this James Tallarico. This guy, for some reason, I don't get it. In Texas, I mean, they're doing some polling right now. But let's see, Charlie, you could take gold medal in mental gymnastics as you are comparing Trump to Daddy is weird, bro. Okay, I'm sorry if you don't understand analogies. Sorry about that. That's not my fault. Maybe you should do something about that. Don't put that on me. Okay? Analogies happen every day. Learn how to cope. There you go. So, Charlie, you are such a bootlicker. If you don't think that Trump makes mistakes, something is definitely wrong with you. And if you don't think, as voters, we're allowed to question him, you can kiss my ass. There you go. Well, yeah, you really, seriously, you're going to have to do better than that to get under my skin. All right, we'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas. MAGA only.
Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie.
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Texas is one of those places that the Democrats have been working on for a long time. I mean, you got to look at what they did to California. California used to be a red state. And that got flipped blue because, well, the entertainment industry, the culture, all of that changed California. And they're trying to do the same thing to Texas. And by golly, what is really frightening about this, I mean, you're going to talk about the Lone Star State. Don't mess with Texas. The fact that somebody like James Tallarico has even got a chance in Texas is absolutely mind-boggling. It really is. The fact that Texas is like the epicenter for new mosques and mosque communities going up, Islamic communities going up. Not only that, remember there was that one huge development where they were giving loans to illegal aliens in Texas? Texas got some serious problems. They need to be looking to Florida and saying, how are you guys doing it? So Democrats went after California. They got it. They're going after Texas now. They might get that. That would be, electorally, that would be disastrous for the Republican Party. Then when that happens, they're going after Florida. So the fact that James Tallarico's even got a chance in Texas, of all places, I mean, this guy who defends abortion using the Virgin Mary.
But I say all this in context of abortion because before God comes over Mary and we have the incarnation, God asks for Mary's consent, which is remarkable. I mean, go back and read this in Luke. I mean, the angel comes down and asks Mary if this is something she wants to do. And she says, if it is God's will, let it be done. Let it be. Let it happen. So to me, that is an affirmation in one of our most central stories that creation has to be done with consent. You cannot force someone to create. Creation.
So then he goes on to liken that to abortion. Unbelievable. It was at that moment that everybody in the state of Texas should have said, this guy's a nut. But then he goes on, and it's even worse. When he said, all right, listen to this. James Tallarico will go back to April of 2021. Here we go.
God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary. Well, I understand that comment is a little provocative. Most Christians would acknowledge that God is beyond gender. In fact, the Apostle Paul, in his letter to the Galatians, said that in Christ there is neither male nor female. And so if someone's got a problem with that statement, they shouldn't take it up with me. They should take it up with the Apostle Paul. There are some statements that I've made that I certainly regret. There are statements that I've made where I've missed the mark. I'll be the first to admit that. But Ken Paxton is intentionally clipping my cringy comments,
your words,
to distract from his career of corruption. God is both.
Yeah. Right. Okay. There you go. Unbelievable. Let's go to Wes from Greer. How you doing, Wes?
Doing fine, Charlie. Hope you.
Yes, sir. What's up,
Charlie? My mom will say that I don't know every page and verse in the Bible, and you would be right, Mom. I didn't read it as much as you wanted, but I did remember the part about the creation of the earth, and that God looked upon it, and it was empty and void. So he decided to do what? He decided to construct a human being in his image. And I'm pretty sure they called that guy Adam.
Exactly.
Okay? And I'm pretty sure that God also said after that he saw where Adam was in need of a partner. And he fashioned from Adam's rib Eve.
Right.
Okay, Tallarico, if there aren't two specific genders, this goes for all you loony libs, how did we all get here?
Yeah, it wasn't because of Adam and Steve.
But it's like everything else, Charlie. Let me tell you what I'm hoping, and what, with all of the fraud, with everything we've seen, these Democrats run a perpetual support system. What was it, Donna Rice or Donna Brazile, wound up getting how many hundreds of millions of dollars for some goofball, Save the Walrus Fund?
Yeah, it was $2 billion.
Yeah, that she opened up. Now, you times everything them Democrats did like that with the billions of dollars they're siphoning and sucking. They're stealing it in Minnesota. They're getting their kickbacks. I believe with the media, I believe it's always been a front. I always believe it's been a masquerade with the cheating, with the mail-in ballots. I mean, why is Bass standing in front of a mail-in ballot?
Yeah.
Mail it in, mail it. Yeah, because you frauders. I mean, that's why y'all want that. I mean, are you kidding? But like everything else, I sincerely hope that Tallarico really doesn't have a chance. Okay.
I do too. Now,
what I've heard
yeah.
from you and read, it seems that Lara Trump and Trump, they have cleaned up these rules, even with the idiots in the Republican Party still standing in the way, and just everything they can do to just poke us in the eye. And let's all remember, that these are the people that have the morals that Trump doesn't have, and Trump's morals are he's trying to help me, he's trying to better the country. One more thing, Charlie. Why did no one in Washington, D.C. that walked past all those water ponds and waterfalls that were full of human feces, for the past 8 years, and weeds that are 8 foot tall, it took a woman with her cell phone, to walk by those ponds and say, I've lived in Washington for years, and I never knew. And she shows these beautiful waterfalls.
Yeah.
And did Ted Cruz talk about it? Did Lindsey Graham and them walk past these things for years?
Every day.
And Trump sees it and tells Doug Burgum, if we'll all remember, Burgum said from day one Trump had tasked him to rebuild that stuff.
Yep. And now you've got the waterfalls, you got the fountains flowing. I'm telling you what, but no. Yeah. Orange man bad. Let's go to Paul from Hickory. Paul, what do you think about Tallarico?
Tallarico, number one's a moron, and number two, he's taking the Bible out of context.
Yep.
You want to quote the Bible, Mr. Tallarico? Let's quote the Bible. What does Jesus himself, God of the universe, say about his dad, the Father?
Yeah.
Quote, as the Father has sent me, even so I send you. And that's just one of so many quotes that comes right out of Jesus' mouth talking about his Father. And I don't know about you or Tallarico, but I never call my mother father or this unknown person who was one of my parents, father who wasn't my father. I mean, it's he created, just like you said earlier, he created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, or he didn't create X and X or Y and Y. No, he created an XY and an X. I mean, it's just, this guy's a nutcase.
He is a nutcase.
I don't know where they get these people. And the same thing, I don't know where they get these people running for office. I mean, I'm in North Carolina, and I was listening to you earlier talking about these, the two running for office in South Carolina. And I don't know about this. I mean, Lindsey Graham, I'm not a big fan of him, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I hear Lindsey talking about on his ads how the other guy who's running against him, was convicted of cocaine and hit and run and drunk driving and all this. And I don't know. I don't follow that. I don't know if it's true. But if it is true, then you got two people running for office that really shouldn't be running. And it's like, why can't we get normal, decent, good people running for office? It seems like it's so difficult to find anybody who's willing to run for office that would actually be.
That's the problem. We don't have enough people. We don't want, because they've seen how dirty it is. They've seen how dirty it takes somebody, I don't know, with something special to want to run for office. I appreciate it, Paul. Over 250 times in the Bible. Now, this is for James Tallarico. Over 250 times in the Bible, God had referred to his Father. 165 times in the Gospels alone. And Tallarico wants to say God's non-binary. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
This is Mark Levin. Join me tonight at 7 following Charlie James for the Mark Levin Show, a News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Charlie Speaks, you listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, welcome back to the program. Well, I want you to get ready because you're going to get, I don't know if you, what do you watch? What do you watch? Do you watch network television? Do you stream? All of that stuff? Sheila and I, everything we watch is streamed. But we still get the ads. Lots of ads out there. But sometimes I will watch the network when I'm watching like golf on the weekends. I'll watch that on the network because that's where it's carried. And I'll see these ads that I'm like, wow, especially where movies are concerned. If you've seen some of these ads for these movies or these television shows and you go, wow, how did that get green lighted? Because they had to sit down, they had to get all, and I've been involved in a movie before, I kind of know how it works. So you got to get all of this funding, all that's got to be green lighted by the production house and all of that stuff. And then they got to get all the cast together, and it's a big deal. And you have to make a gamble on whether or not something is going to make money. Right? So there is a movie coming out. It's just, this is crazy. RuPaul has a new movie, The Drag Queen. RuPaul has got a movie coming out. It's about a drag queen president. Listen to this. This is from The View.
I mean, I hate to get serious, but it is at a time when the rights of LGBT plus community are getting their rights stripped away along with other people. And how do you respond to all that? I know you're responding with joy and wonderness, but is there anything you want to say to
You're
those,
his secret weapon, Joy.
to those people who are stripping your rights away?
You know, we've tried rational thinking, critical thinking. We've tried everything. We tried to convince people, say, look, this plus this equals this. I really don't. I wish I had an answer. I don't know what else to do. As we all are, at our wits' end. We've never experienced anything like this in our lives.
That's true.
Never in our lives. I don't know what else to do. If y'all have an answer to me, write me at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I don't know, Joe. I wish I had an answer.
Well, they say vote and march and protest.
So, I got a question. What rights has anybody lost in this country? That's something they can't tell you. They just spew that out. You're just being stripped of your rights. What rights? The rights of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Nobody cared. Nobody cared about these drag shows. Nobody gave a rat's rump until you started to go after the kids. That's when people said, hold on, wait a minute. Because remember, first, we didn't have all this MS, MMQS, whatever it is these days. It really is ridiculous. All of the letters that they have now. What is it? I'm sorry. What is it called? What is it? I don't remember.
MMIW G2SLGBTQIA+.
Oh, yeah, that one. What is it again? Tell me again. I want to remember it.
MMIW G2SLGBTQIA+.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Nobody cared. So it used to be you just had the gay community. Okay, fine. And they just wanted to be accepted. Okay, so they just inundated us with all of this stuff. And finally they got to be like, all right, fine, you just do your thing, man. And there's like, wait a minute, that's not quite enough. Now we want more. Now we want to be radical. Now we want to take it out into the streets, and we want to have the pride parades. Okay, all right, yeah, pride parades, whatever. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. That's not enough. Now we want, and they have taken it absolutely as far as they could take it, up to the point where they wanted to come after the children. And that's when people decided, you know what? No, that's a bridge too far. Stay away from the kids. That's when everybody started standing up and saying no. And we should stand up because that's just completely unacceptable. Then they want to put porn in libraries for the kids to read. They want to put all of this stuff. That's it. They're trying to go after the culture. And the reason they want to go after the kids is because kids are innocent. Kids are good people. So therefore, if you can get a kid to like you, you must be a good person. Right? Makes you feel better about yourself. Oh, kids love me, so I must be good. Unbelievable. Let's go to Richard up in Traveler's Rest. How you doing, Richard?
I'm doing pretty good. I was listening to that about the Father, the Father, Son, Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
I was listening to that, and there was a man back in the time by the name of Noah. And I've often wondered, God destroyed the whole earth, but he found righteousness in Noah. Okay?
Yeah.
And I got to thinking about that. The Bible talks about the sons of man, angels, coming into women. Okay? And God destroyed the earth because the whole point was these angels were trying to destroy the bloodline of Jesus Christ with impurities. And they said, and you had giants in the land, and they found giants all over the place. And I know how it sounds, but there were things in the Bible that we don't understand today. And even the Israelites, when they went into Canaan, everybody said, "Oh, that's cruel, that's mean," and all that. But do you know what was in Canaan? Giants. You had Goliath of Gath, and he had 3 or 4 brothers.
He had the brothers, yeah, that's right.
Yep. So it was, and then you had Lot in the Bible. Okay, and Lot, this is awful, but Lot says, no. He says, I got 2 daughters.
Yeah.
Take them.
Take
But
them.
don't do any harm to these men because they were visitors. They were also angels. Those angels blinded the people around Lot's house, and they still wanted to, and this is the word that the Bible says, they let us in that we may know them.
Yeah, biblically. You're right, Richard. You're right. It's been around for a long time. I appreciate it. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
When the left spins, Charlie sets it straight. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Andrew Branca for The Branca Show.
Tap and type your message on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line.
800-905-0989. This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
One of the things that we should never forget was the biggest election fraud in American history that took place in 2020. Now, I know what you were called when you had the audacity. Oh, my goodness. If you just had the audacity to question the outcome of the 2020 election, oh, that got you. Oh, you're an election denier. And oh, you're an election denier. They would ban you from Facebook. Back then, under Jack Dorsey, they would ban you from Twitter. They would ban you from YouTube and Instagram, and your social media presence could be just wiped out in one fell swoop by these liberals like Zuckerberg and Dorsey et al. But as we go on, and all of this stuff that we said, you look at Fulton County, Georgia, you look at, it's not Mesa, is it Mesa County, Arizona? No, it's not. Maricopa County. Look at Maricopa County. Look up in Pennsylvania. Look all over this country. When all of a sudden, at one particular time of the evening, for some particular reason, they just stopped counting the votes. And that's when you saw that spike. And I remember, oh, man, you go to bed at, November 2020, you think Trump's got this thing in the bag. You see the arc going. And then you wake up and you go, wait a minute, what the heck happened? What the heck happened last night? That in the wee hours of the morning, all of a sudden, in all of these states, Joe Biden, his numbers just went up and up and up. Trump numbers didn't go up. Only Joe Biden's numbers went up. And you knew, like I knew, that something was wrong. When they shut down the voting in Fulton County, Georgia, because of it was a busted pipe. Oh, look at this. It was never a busted pipe. Never a busted pipe. But they evacuated the building because of a busted pipe that turned out to be an overflowing urinal. So you got to evacuate the building. Why do you need to evacuate the building? So they can go in and do what they did. Now, the DOJ is hunting down every Fulton County election worker for federal questioning. This is Andrew Branca.
The Trump Department of Justice is now moving to question, interrogate Fulton County, Georgia 2020 election workers as part of a huge fraud investigation. Part of the fraud effort? Trying to get their names and addresses already rated to seize ballots. Democrats are now getting into panic mode because once you sit these people down, and you have the opportunity, I won't call it interrogation, to depose them under oath, they fall apart. Their stories become completely incoherent. And that leads you to other things. Criminal charges could come. And by the way, the people doing the questioning will all be federal law enforcement officers. And if you lie to federal law enforcement officers, it's a crime. If you lie to your local cop, like you get pulled over for speeding and they ask you a question and you lie, it's almost certainly not any kind of offense. But if you lie to a federal law enforcement officer, that puts you in a federal prison. That's how they got Martha Stewart. Not on any actual misconduct, but she was interviewed by the FBI. And they do that. Of course, the FBI knows this. So they set up these, they call them perjury traps. They ask you ambiguous questions and you're trying to figure out exactly what they're looking for. You give them an answer you think is appropriate. And then they'll say, oh no, that question was really about something else completely. So you lied to us. Your answer was a lie. Off to federal prison you go. I'd love to see it. CNN hates admitting it. Some poll workers and ballot counters from the 2020 presidential election could soon hear a knock on their doors. How about at 3 a.m.? Can we do it at 3 a.m. like they did to the January 6th protesters?
Exactly right. Could we do that? Let's go to Ken in Nebo. Ken, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Listen to your show every day there, Charlie.
Thank you, sir.
Wish you the very best and appreciating you allowing me to come on. I want to talk about Nancy Mace, his interview today.
Okay.
You know, I hadn't called in a while, but she's impressive. I'll tell you, I've watched her a little bit. She's made the national news more than a few times because of her presence. I mean, I don't think she's going to stand down against anybody. Probably would make a excellent governor. But to hear her speak during your interview without rushing and stumbling over any words, the articulation, when somebody is hitting home run with the facts as they speak with speed and have all their points and their I's dotted and their T's crossed verbally, she was hitting them today. And so you know what's behind that. Everybody knows when they hear a speaker like that in front of a million of your listeners, it's the membranes are working great. And she was spot on, though. And I hope that whatever her endeavors are, she's been one of those kind of voices that are now becoming more scarce. They're sort of what you might call they're scarce. Is a voice that is not afraid to speak up no matter what cards are played against you. And she's got people really coming out and hating her enough to threaten her.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you know that she's a powerful voice. And the only thing I would say before I go here is we in North Carolina would be willing to offer the voters and the members of South Carolina, Charlie, maybe you can help me get this going. Michael Whatley, Senate candidate up here, and 2 draft picks to be named later for Nancy Mace to come up here and run for the Senate seat. Because she does make me feel like Ernest T. Bass. Have a great evening.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, Ken. Thank you very much. All right, so, but you folks in North Carolina, get out there and vote for Michael Whatley. That's who you need. You don't need Roy Cooper, the guy that let thousands of criminals out on the streets during COVID. What, 80% of them have gone on to commit other crimes that have been caught. I'm pretty sure it's more than that. So, and that North Carolina, you guys are such a weird state, man. You really are. I don't understand how you vote the way you do. Well, we'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, this is Tara. Start your day with common sense information and opinion with me on The Tara Show tomorrow morning, starting at 6. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Chat with Charlie.
800-905-0989. Save it on your phone.
This is the Charlie James Show, only on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, let's go to the phones. We'll talk to Larry from Campobello. How you doing, Larry?
Hey, Charlie, I'm doing fine.
All right, I'm doing great, man. What's up?
Good. I wanted to, I'll just make a few comments about our buddy Lindsey.
Yeah.
Lindsey's doing a fine job of bad-mouthing everybody else. I haven't heard him say anything like what he's going to do. However, there is the exception of seems like his sister is a very needy child, and I think Lindsey needs more time off to take care of her.
All right, Larry, I appreciate it. Yeah, that whole thing. But here's the thing, though. I mean, Lindsey Graham, what have we heard from him? It's all about the Mark Lynch stuff, which, by the way, that's exactly the same tactic that the Democrats used against Brett Kavanaugh when Lindsey Graham lost his mind on the Democrats, right? God, oh, you want power? God help us if you ever get it. Remember that comment. But what are you going to be able to do, Lindsey? Here's the thing. Lindsey knows nothing is going to get done. He knows this for a fact because John Thune is not going to allow anything to be done. Lindsey's got this big, he had this big out there. I don't know if he's still running it. The ad about making sanctuary cities illegal. Well, how are you going to do that? You think that's going to meet the 60 vote threshold? You think that's going to do it? No, it is not. So Lindsey Graham knows that he could get up there and say absolutely anything right now. He could say anything. I'm going to vote for everybody to get a $500,000 stimulus check. That's what I'm going to. It's not going to happen. Nothing is happening in the Senate because of John Thune. Now, have we heard Lindsey Graham come out and talk about doing away with the filibuster? No. No, we have not. Because, you see, for some reason, they're clinging to all of this tradition in the Senate. Scott Pressler, who I'm trying to get on the program again, said this over on the Timcast.
To this person, I make a promise right here and now. If Senate Majority Leader Thune does not pass the Save America Act, then I am going to Texas. Senate Majority Leader Thune wants to protect John Cornyn in the Senate, the incumbent, and the May 26th primary Senate runoff is coming up. So everybody in Texas, you have the opportunity. If Thune isn't going to give us what we want, then we are going to take away what he has. And in Louisiana, you have Senator Cassidy, who is up for election on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2026. If he doesn't get 50% of the vote, it goes to a runoff in December. And just so this person knows, with my platform, this year I've already been to Indiana, Florida, Pennsylvania, Utah to help with redistricting. I'm going to Indiana for the Cinco de Mayo primary. I've been going to Virginia for the April 21st referendum. I hope people vote no. We have a primary in Pennsylvania on May 19th. So no, I promise you, I am using my platform, and I'm probably respectfully one of the only influencers on the ground doing the actual boots on the ground work. So you have my...
So, and that was we all know how those races turned out. But Scott Pressler is saying that he is going to go to Texas and make sure that go to South Dakota and make sure that John Thune is primaried right there in his home state. He warned them. He warned Cassidy. He warned Cornyn. He warned them in that clip. And they didn't pay attention. And now what's happened to them? I hope he does. Let's go to Gene in Greenville. Gene, welcome.
Well, I was going to bring up another topic, but you've diverted my mind to what you've just discussed.
Yeah.
I have a question to ask you first.
Okay.
How many of the Trump-supported primary candidates have won? Have they all won?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm going to bring up one that I hope doesn't win. Come on, you should be able to give me that answer.
Yeah, Lindsey.
Very good.
Yes.
So now, hold on, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not done with this. Wouldn't that be great? Lindsay loses, and no runoff, and the media can go wild. The Trump influence is failing.
Yeah, they would too. That's exactly. I think that would be great, Gene. I mean, I would love for Donald Trump. I would love for him to be 99% in his endorsements. 99. I would go with 99% instead of the 100 he's got right now. So,
I think it's great.
yeah, I appreciate it, Gene. Thank you very much. Absolutely. I mean, here's a guy that just a couple of days ago came out and was blasting Donald Trump and the Iran deal. It's a bad. Oh no, it's a bad deal. Oh no, you're giving Iran a victory with this deal, and it was so bad. You had Lindsey doing it, Ted Cruz did it, several others did it, talking about how this bad Iran deal. It was so bad that Donald Trump had to post a statement over on Truth Social. That's like, listen, you guys don't even know what the deal is. You have no clue. We haven't said anything. We haven't released a deal. We haven't discussed the deal with anybody. You don't know what the deal is. But you know what that really told me more than anything else? Lindsey is not part of the deal. Donald Trump is not looking to Lindsey Graham on how to handle the Iranian situation. Because you know what Lindsey's going to say. Stop negotiating, start bombing. Anyway, yeah, I would be pretty happy with a 99% success rate with Donald Trump in the primaries. Wouldn't you guys? Charlie, if we had honest elections, there would be a lot less Democrats in office. Yeah, that's what we were trying to do with redistricting. All right, folks, excuse me. Y'all have a lovely evening. We'll see you right back here tomorrow when it will be, Friday. God bless. Buckle up. Bye, y'all.